to Michelle Speaks Warriors Unleashed. This is our second episode with me, Michelle Portier, aka Michelle Speaks, aka hashtag Healing Unleashed.
Hi, I'm E Jae Essence, and my hashtag is Resistance Unleashed.
And I'm Gabby Ruiz, hashtag Truth Unleashed.
And we are here today, and we're just going to get right into it. And today we have Miss E Jae Essence, hashtag Resistance Unleashed, is in the hot seat today. So E Jae, last week we talked about how the brokenness has transpired and shown up in our lives because of the relationship with our mothers. And Gabby touched on a lot of things.
She did.
Yeah, and it just made me think about, because that's how we started all this, because we all had the conversation and that's how we came up with Warriors Unleashed.
And isn't that interesting how we come from such different places,
right?
And yet we have that common thread.
Varied backgrounds, and honestly that kind of mimics how a lot of women show up today, from varied backgrounds. And for me, I've always wondered why it's so easy for me to get along with certain women,
right?
But in other women, it's like oil and water. Just the thought of them, the smell of them, the sight of them.
It's like
it makes me cringe. I say that,
like
I'm serious.
I understand, but that's being real. That's being honest.
Right.
And I think we've all had those experiences with certain women.
Yeah. And
it's quite interesting, because I know for me, coming across women like that, it does show characteristics of my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, the human side of me wants to be like, ah! But the God side of me wants to be like, oh my God, I want to embrace them in a way. And I struggled with that.
But I think we all do, because it's that never-ending battle between good and evil. And then that coupled with human nature and what we may be feeling or encountering in that moment. So I think all of that plays a hand. But before we get right into the meat of it, I want you to just share with everybody, who is E Jae personally, professionally, and spiritually?
I don't get asked that question a whole lot.
Right.
But just kind of reflecting on what Gabby said last week, I think people get the professional and the personal part of me misconstrued. What people don't know is, what they see before them now is a jest. This is what I hear from people. Oh, she's just a Zumba instructor here in Jacksonville. So they try to put me in a box. Does that make sense? And what they don't, yes, because it's like they clearly see more, and it makes them sick to their stomach to
but
see
they don't
more.
Want to acknowledge that
they don't.
Okay, they
do not. And so what they don't know is that I have an associate's degree in massage therapy. They don't know I got my bachelor's and my master's at the same time, going through depression and anxiety, fighting through that, and becoming a psychiatrist, and also doing occupational therapy for so many years. So those are things that they don't know, and I don't share. I don't share because I want to see. I want to know what they really think of me.
It's the same reason why you want to learn Spanish, so that when you hear people talking, you'll really know when they're
That would make me. I'm actually gonna.
I see how you see me. Okay.
I'm actually going to go on Barkafine and purchase a Rosetta Stone.
nice. So those are things that people don't know. They don't. I've kind of sort of shared a little bit of the massage therapy part, because if for them it feels like, oh, okay, well, she's not. Oh, she's just this. She's. Oh, she didn't do much. She's right there with us. She's right there on that level with us. And honestly,
they don't want you to be elevated.
They do not. But I'm like, I'm not saying I'm better than you.
But why do women do that? Why do we do that? Because I've been guilty of doing that too. Not anytime, not recently.
Right.
But in my lifetime, in this 49 years I've been on this earth, I've done. Why do we do that? Do you think?
A lot of it stems from childhood. So even when we're born into this world, we're already categorized in a certain element. So, like for example, the whole light skin, dark skin thing. So the whole I'm lighter, I'm better.
Yeah.
You're darker, you're not. I'm always going to be better than you because I have that one up on you. And so a lot of it stems from childhood, brothers talking about them, uncles dogging them out, mothers, because we're the worst. We can be some of the worst people to deal with.
Yes, we can.
Especially with our daughters.
Yep. Well, we do what we've learned, what is tradition.
Yeah. And the sad part is we keep it going from generation to generation. At some point, it has got to stop, because we're just recreating toxic relationships, more hatred. And once again, here comes when they go out into the world, is, well, I'm looking at, don't know the woman, but looking at her, you think, let's be honest, you think you better than me. They don't even know each other. They don't even know each other. And so it goes right into that. And
a lot of it is mindset. It's the inner talks that we have with ourselves, the inner dialogue that we have. And that's based on, what we've learned, what's been ingrained, what's been poured into us from a young age, which takes us back to the most important relationship that we've had to groom us into the women that we become, which is our mother, that relationship.
And speaking of that, you kind of have an interesting place in the world personally, in that you've kind of had to bridge two different cultures, where it's like one culture thinks that you don't belong because you're not like us, and the other culture, you don't belong, you're not like us. You have created, I guess you've kind of helped people realize that there's this other thing in between, where you can have two hands in different cultures.
And it's very challenging, growing up like that, because just like you said, one side, because you're not as fair, or your hair is not straight and long and black, then you're not us. But then the other one's like, well, you don't speak like us, you don't talk like us, so you're not us. And it is the most frustrating thing as a child growing up. And especially like with me, I grew up with several different languages, and that's not something I often share with people too, because once again, as women, she thinks she's better than us.
So, it caused you to kind of repress.
It does very much so, because I'm like, I want to present I want to embrace and I want to love. That's the God side of me, but the human side of me sometimes is like, no, because I can't continuously put myself in those situations with those women. But the craziest thing was, even on my journey, I still attracted those type of women, even within like the last, from 2018 to December 2019. Just kind of filtering out the energies of the different women that I just had to cut off in my life.
So what does that look like? Like, give me a tangible example of what that showed up like and why you had to cut it off. Does that tie into who you are spiritually, your spirituality? Is that are you protecting that? Is that why you?
I have to protect that.
Okay.
I feel like the most important thing in life right now, especially for me, is to protect my energy. So I cannot allow those types of women in my space.
What are those types of women?
They come off as, I love you so much, you bring so much to my life, and I just want to, be a part of your life on this journey. But on the end game, or throughout the journey, you start to see the jealousy kicks in, the deceit kicks in, and then things that you have shared with them thinking that you could confide in them comes back through other people, and you don't really know these people, but they had to get it from one person.
They use it as ammunition.
They do.
When it was you trusting them.
Absolutely.
So how does the jealousy show up for somebody that's listening that may want to, they question certain people in their life? What to look for. Yeah. What do we look for?
When you're out with each other, just see how when people come up to you and they gravitate towards you, you can feel the energy shift. That's one. If you're in tune, you'll feel the energy shift. Two, they'll throw out sarcastic comments.
Catty comments.
Very, you know,
Like,
and laughing.
And they can be belittling too.
Yeah. Because I've gotten that.
So you feel less, so that that gives them a leg up.
I've gotten that. I'll give you an example. I was asked to come with this lady that I knew to CrossFit, and I was like, but she's like, come on, it'll be fun, and I don't want to do this by myself. And you guys know me. I'm always that girl. I'm like, okay, I don't want you to feel like you have to do it by yourself. So I'm going to be there for support. I'm going to be there with you because I always want that support myself.
right.
So to make a long story short, really she invited me because while she was going, she was looking like the weakest link with everybody else being so strong and pushing through their workouts. She just wasn't physically where she thought she was when it came in comparison to the other people that was in CrossFit. So she invited me thinking because I have not done CrossFit, and I haven't done CrossFit in several years, but I am strong. I am very strong physically.
So she underestimated
you. She did.
But we do that a lot. We do it a lot with women, and I believe you something you said I wanted to key in on. You said you never want anybody to feel unsupported, so that's why you support others.
Mm-hmm.
You think that I believe it stems from us not feeling supported.
Absolutely.
From our childhood, and so because we don't want anybody to experience that, we do that. Do you think at times it could be to our detriment?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely, because it's lately, especially within 2018 to 2019, that was a trying year with dealing with the deceit and the jealousy and the people that I supported, because I believed in their vision. Mm-hmm. So if I believe in your vision, I'm going to be there to support. And then people are going to jump on the bandwagon. Yeah, people are going to jump on the bandwagon, with me. It's like, okay, well, he is supporting this, so it has to be a great cause, and I'm never going to support anything that I don't believe in, So it did turn around and bite me in my butt more than several times within 2018 to 2019. And so now what I do with women that come into my life now, I don't just openly open my arms and embrace them and pull them in and support them. You have to prove yourself to me. I just sit back and I let you talk. I observe.
So there's degrees of
yes. That's where I am now. You have to, you have to
earn it.
Yes. You gotta earn it. You have to earn it. I'm just not gonna open myself up like that anymore.
So how do you earn it?
You're going to have to prove it. So I'm going to watch you. I'm going to observe you. I'm going to see how you treat other people. I'm going to see if you're bringing back other information about other people to me, because those are key flags, red flags, that you got to be able to pick up like this, and not make the assumption just because they're telling you something about someone else. You can't make that assumption. But I think we oftentimes do, because when we spend time with each other, we create a bond. We create that bond. Mm-hmm. And so with talking to each other every day, and it's like the highlight of our days, I talked to my homegirl, we're laughing, we're going out this weekend, and we get attached to that, and it's often a facade. It's often a major facade, and so we don't see the red flags, because we're so bonded with them on the other level.
It's interesting you say that, because I think, well, two things. I think it's interesting the people that come to you telling you, so-and-so said this about you, versus the one that would never tell you and go battle that themselves, come to bat for you on your behalf. Right. And, you not even knowing about it. To me, that is the greater sign of truly being evolved within, because you do give someone the burden to carry whenever you go to them, and, and even if it's something uncomfortable, they come and share and then walk off, and leave you there to hold it all. Is that really what friendship is about?
If you can't go to bat for me if I'm not in the room, then we're not.
Yeah,
not my friend.
Agreed. Yeah, I am quick to go to bat for my friends, because they are my family.
And
they
if you come
really
to me
are.
and tell me something that somebody has said, my question is going to be, well, what did you say? Mm-hmm. Did you
right?
Me?
Did you?
What is it that you've done that's made them so comfortable telling you?
Yeah. That's a very good question.
And not only that, did you defend me, or did you just?
Or did you cut it off? I know, because I've had situations where someone has tried to come and tell me about someone else and I just cut it off altogether, because what you're not going to do is that. Mm-hmm. If you have any issues, you go and you talk to her about it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear about it.
So tell us about your relationship with your mom growing up.
Oh, interesting.
And how that impacted how you show up now.
You know, she wasn't the super bad person. She just wasn't really so good to me.
So she was good to your siblings.
Yes.
But not to you.
Not to me, yeah. And she had her ways, you guys. She did stuff like she baked things, and she was a very big participant in the children and things for the school. Mm-hmm. No, she did things like that. She came out, supported sports, and she did those things.
For you too?
Yeah, even for me. Even for me. Like she was even
she was
like
an engaged mom.
Yes, yeah. She was very, very engaged. But when it came to treatment, I think she felt, one thing I noticed about her was that she had a jealousy thing when it came to my father and myself, because we were so close. Mm-hmm. And I know you talked about
that. Like a resonating thing.
Yeah. So because my father and I were very, very tight. Wow. And so listening to you talk about it on the last segment, I could resonate with that. And I was like, I love my father. Like, he was the best thing ever. He taught me how to tie my shoes. He taught me how to drive. He taught me to play sports. So I wanted to be so much like him. And, she's the artsy chick. My father's the athletic guy.
But you have both. You're artsy.
I am. And I don't know where that stems from. I know in a little bit of her background is that, she got married very, very young. And so she did not have that childhood. She did not have that time to go out and experience life and
find out who she was.
She just didn't. She did not have that opportunity, because it's like, okay, you're a wife, this is your duty. You're a mother, this is your duty. Mm-hmm. And
so she was really approximating motherhood because she still was in the process of womanhood too.
Yes, yeah. And so I just, I try as a child, kind of like you did with your mom, like I try to, like I do not embrace, and that's just something she just was not accustomed to. She was not ready for. She just did not. She didn't want it.
Was there something out there that she specifically did that you kind of like emblazoned in your memory?
It's been a couple things, but I can remember coming home one day, walking through the door, and I knew she had such a bad day. She had such a horrible day, and because first of all, she was loud, and she's always loud and louder,
right? If that's possible.
Yeah. And she was just, her mental state was just not there. Off. It was very off, and just throwing things around, and was being so mean to us, like extra mean. Like she was always mean, but meaner. And I was like, Mommy. And I went over and I tried to give her a hug. And she pushed me off of her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that just, it broke my heart.
I'm very affectionate.
Yeah, it broke my heart. And like, just her watching the interaction between me and my father. Because wherever he went, I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. When he was up 4 o'clock in the morning running those miles, I was right. Now, I didn't last 2 minutes. I tried though,
Now, was that you wanting to be with him, or was it you trying to escape?
I just wanted to be with him. I just wanted to be with him because that was his time to get up in the morning.
Part of it was her being jealous of that connection that maybe she felt like her and your dad didn't have, and also I don't know why, I just feel like some of that jealousy could have stemmed from, and I think this is universal with mothers that, you know, didn't have the opportunity to really grow into who they were as a woman, and then they're a wife and they're a mother and they got to take care of this household and they have their responsibilities. Maybe that jealousy stems from them seeing in you, because, you know, we see the greatness in our children. You know, I'm not going to say especially our little girls, but we see the greatness in them. So maybe that jealousy stemmed from seeing the greatness in you and seeing you be able to embrace that and kind of, you know,
just kind of run with it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Because I do know that, you know, I think I surpassed her on so many different levels, and she took it personally. So anything that I was trying to do when I was not an adolescent but teenager years, going like getting ready to go off to college, stuff like that, she sabotaged it. Like, for example, so my mother, I remember there was a specific college I wanted to get into, but I sent out, you know, things to maybe about 9 or 10 of them, and I never received an acceptance letter from
any of them.
About 5 of them I didn't receive.
So they arrived, you just didn't receive them.
Yes,
How did you find out?
I was disappointed at the ones that I didn't receive, so I didn't call the school or anything like that. I didn't. And so I was in her car looking for something. So the little console, you know how you put everything in the little console. So I was just going through some stuff, and I was like, what is this? And what? You guys, I opened, they were all my acceptance letters to the colleges that I got accepted into these colleges, and she hid them from me.
She had opened them? So how?
Wow.
That's a good question. First question. Did you address that? Did you confront her? And second, how did you move beyond that? How did you live with her after that? How did you interact? I mean,
I honestly, I couldn't. I couldn't interact with her. I was so angry at her, and I did. I went off about it. I did. So I was loud. After
you learned it from?
Yeah, I was louder. And so my behavior was very indignant. It was. And I felt justified, you know, but her whole thing was, well, you didn't need to go to those places anyway.
Wow.
But, whoa. So she was not remorseful
apologetic,
no. Or she felt justified in what she did?
She felt justified in what she did. And I just...
What was the justification? There was no... It was just... You didn't...
Mother knows best, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was definitely that. It was definitely that one, because I always got that over the years. You know, well, I'm your mother. I know better than you. I've lived longer than you. I've done more things.
But underneath it all, it's like I can't watch you soar because I never had the opportunity to.
Exactly.
And so I'm not going to let you have it.
Exactly. So from the time that you found them, and then between the time that you confronted her, how much time had elapsed? And then I'll let you answer that question.
From the time that I found the letters, it wasn't even like a few minutes. Like, as soon as I found them and was reading them,
my face is getting hot just thinking about it.
I was so enraged. And I think that's when I went into the house, I remember throwing the letters at her, and of course, then here comes, like we talked about in the last segment, the disrespect, or you're so disrespectful. So I always get that you're so disrespectful. You're not like
she projected and turned it back on you.
That's exactly.
But then too, how much of that anger was all of these years of feeling rejected, and this is the ultimate rejection. You know, like they think that you're being disrespectful, and what it is that now you have this reason to put all your past, ball it up, and really throw it at the wall,
And
like a ticking time.
And that's exactly what I became. I became that even more.
So how did you interact with her? Like, say within the next couple of weeks after
I didn't talk to her, just her. And just her very presence made me sick to my stomach. Just seeing her made me sick. So
wow.
I just made sure I would go to work, do my thing, come home, go in my room, close the door. If we were at church, people would try to, because, they always project this, I'm such a great Christian. Right. That you guys know about that. Great Christian, and there's nothing, my children are perfect, type thing. And so when, if she's standing next to me, people would come over and try to interact with both of us. I would just walk away, or she would try to come in, if I'm interacting with other people, try to come in with this smile,
right.
And and just having a great time with them. I would just walk away, and everybody would look like, what is going on here?
What just happened?
Yeah, I'll give you another example. I remember I was engaged and I was pregnant, and I was supposed to go off, get on the plane at a certain time, and I was like, I need you to take me to the airport. And okay, sure, I'll be back in time to do that for you, because I was going to go see him. And she didn't call back and say, hey, I'm running late, get a cab or see if someone's going to drop you off. She never came back.
And you waited.
I waited, and what I did was, I'm so grateful for the friend that I had at the time.
Right.
She called, she's like, E, shouldn't you have been going? I was like, yes, I was just waiting on my mother. And so my friend came over, picked me, and I was pregnant, picked me up and took me on to the airport. And then, when I got to where I needed to go, talked to her, and she was like, well, I'm just letting you know, if you get back on the plane is going to go down. You're going to die in a crash. Like, she would say things like that. Yeah, she was hateful. She was hateful.
That's not hateful, that's hatred.
Yeah.
And so, and I have so many different stories.
But how do you deal with a woman that brought you into this world and openly expressed such hatred for you, and then that not affect you? Because from the time that I've known you, you're very loving, you're very, you're very engaging, you're very warm. So how did that not impact you?
Well, things finally came to a head, didn't it?
It did. For me, I knew that I didn't want to be that woman. So I made up in my mind that I was never going to become her. So, and that's when that whole journey of just seeing women, girls, openly embracing them, because I didn't get that love, that nurturing from her, which is like a double-edged sword, because you do, like I said, for me, a person with my energy, I attract everything. So coming in contact with, these beautiful, great, powerful women, but I still came in contact with women that were like her as well.
Forceful women versus powerful women.
Yeah, because it's a big difference, and people don't understand that. It's a big difference. But I had to get to a point where I had to cut her off completely. But you guys, it took years of going through so much pain and suffering, because you had people in your ear, but that's your mother, and you're and you have to respect her, and the 10 Commandments and all this other stuff. All these things are, these people are coming at me. That's still your mother. That's still your mother. And I'm like, it's still an abusive relationship.
Toxic.
It's still a very toxic relationship. So it needs to be severed. It's like telling me, if my husband was beating on me, well, that's your husband, you should stay with him. It's the same difference. You would not tell me to do that with my husband.
Right.
Or my wife, whichever side, feel I'm playing on. But, but I'm just saying, you wouldn't tell me to stay in that type of element. Why would you encourage me to keep a relationship with a woman who has so much hatred towards me? It just, it was a constant battle. So then it leads into the children, me having the children over the years, and it's an honor to be a grandparent. It really is. It's the second. What I could say is that it's parents' second go around to get it right with their grandchildren, what they couldn't get right with their children.
Second opportunity.
Yeah, if that makes sense. And so, because when you're having children, you're married or whatever, you're learning as you go. So you don't have a lot of time. You're thinking about, I got to keep the roof over my head.
There's
I got
no blueprint.
it's not.
But you're short on patience when you're trying to do two things at the same time.
Yeah. And as a mother, we have multiple things that we have to
the
do.
Queen of multitasking.
Yeah. There's multiple things we have to do. So you don't have that patience, and you're snapping off, and it's just so you're going through your own anxieties and depressions and people never notice, like they don't pick up on, because in realization, most people don't care. They just don't care.
As long as their needs are getting met. They found that they don't care.
They don't care.
And it's sad to say, but it's true. Especially not for women in general. I believe that as long as we're meeting the needs of other people, they don't even see.
They don't.
The turmoil or the pain or the hurt or the anger or whatever it is that we might be encountering.
Yeah.
All they know is I have this need, and you're always there to fulfill that need. And the only time there's a problem is, why is that need not being met?
Correct. Correct.
So how did the pain that you felt from the rejection from your mom show up throughout your life? Like how did that manifest?
Or did you see yourself reflecting that, or did you do like the opposite?
I did completely opposite. And so when I started, having children, especially with my daughters, I made sure on the journey of being a mother to these girls, I didn't get angry. And I had my frustrations with them, of course, naturally, but that being enraged and just calling them everything but a child of God, and spanking them for every little thing that they do, or just keeping them, just not showing that nurturing side that most mothers have. A lot of us don't, let's be real, but showing that nurturing side that I did not get. Not from her. Now, on the course of my journey, because that was, before I understood, it was the absence of me, the absence of the wantedness of wanting her to love me a certain way. I never got it from other women either. But once I started to release the resistance of that, then that's when powerful women started showing up in my life, nurturing women. So I didn't get it from my biological mother, but I got it from other women, of course, along the journey. So I did not miss out.
So when you stopped resisting, what were you resisting?
The resistance was, it was really the absence of her love.
Okay.
The absence of it. So I gave off that I needed so badly, and we're vibrational beings. So the only thing the universe could do was keep reflecting back to me what I was vibrating out to the universe. So I always came across women that was just like her. And once I just released that the absence of the nurturing part, that's when women showed up.
How did you do that?
I took my focus off of that.
So you just churned to another direction.
I did. That's all it took.
Which is really interesting, because it's easy to think that you've got to be destructive, Maybe I'm a little guilty of that. You got to go chop it up, burn it up, throw it in the air, use it as war paint, But you just chose, I'm just going to completely turn it.
I just turned it, that's it.
But that's part of the humanistic nature of us. That side of us is when we feel like we have to take something on, and we're gonna not dominate it, but if you do something to me, I'm gonna get you.
I'm gonna come for you.
War paint, whatever you want to put on.
But that is resistance on the other side.
Yeah.
So this is new learning for me, that just not having to have it is perhaps the greatest medicine.
You gotta release it. You gotta release. You gotta let it go. You have to let it go. And I just chose to focus in a different direction, and I promise you, as soon as that resistance of that was gone, those women showed up. I mean, they showed up.
And were you immediately able to trust that? Was it easy?
You know what? Honestly, honestly, with them, it was.
You knew in your gut.
I knew it. I knew it.
You know what? That might explain why the first time I saw you, and I didn't even have a conversation. I just saw you dance, and I was like, that chick is mine. And I had to go tell her so, you know? And it's been very rare, but I've felt that with many people, you know, when we've been like that. I've like, the minute that song is over, I'm going over to you and telling you that I'm in love with you. And that's totally what I did. I do think that you just know immediately. That's interesting that you say that, because I never thought about that before. Yes. And there are people that you grow to love, spending time with them, but, you know, I find that those are the ones that end up, you know, behaving almost contrary to what you thought they were developing with you.
You know, when the first time I saw you at that fundraiser, I'm not gonna say I fell in love with you, but I knew that you were authentic. You were just warm. What'd you say?
I said I
did. But you were just warm. You were very authentic. You were very, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I could be friends with her.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have to have my guard up around her. I wouldn't be, you know.
And that's how I want people to feel.
Putting testers out there to see.
Yeah.
Oh, is she gonna pass this test, or is she gonna fail that test? Yeah.
Right. It's, you know, it's just, it's so important to be able to trust that within you, yourself as a woman. You know, we go through so many different levels of deception with other women, which can, when we start to build that wall, you know,
it causes you to lose sight of and being able to trust what you feel or trust that intuition.
And that's something as a woman, what I realize is that we're not taught that. We're not taught to trust our intuition, you know, and that's something that needs to be taught from yay high.
Well,
so by the time we get older, we've gone through so much madness that we did not have to go through had we been taught to trust our intuition, trust your inner being, trust the source within, you know. And I just look back on the course of my life, I'm like, I could have avoided so many different things. But I also...
Could you have avoided it, or was it part of the path?
I think I could have avoided some of the things, I could have avoided a lot.
Some things.
Yeah, some things I could, and I think some of the stuff was, you know, just a part of the path as well, to help me grow and to elevate myself. And to be able to help other young women or just grown women along their pathway, because we're not taught to trust that intuition within us. We're taught to, or let the man handle it, or, you know, the kids run it, or, you know, or go in your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth mindset versus that very first thing. Yeah.
Normally the initial is the correct one.
Always,
yeah. For the most part.
So what I'm learning from you, this is interesting, because this is a big part of your like little niche here between us, is that, you know, a lot of people, they have these negative experiences and then they put up these walls like, you know, platinum, and nobody's gonna get in, and you don't really you don't blame it on, you know, you recognize that intuition is always there, because when you have those walls, it's like you got to make a choice, you know, either I'm connected to my intuition, or I put up these walls and let those be the rule makers for me.
Right.
And that limits your experience with people.
It does. It really does. And so people that could potentially help you grow and, you know, on the course of your journey.
You miss them.
Yeah, you do. You do.
You can't connect.
Because the wall is there, you know. Yeah. So, what I also can say is, like, when I started having my children, my daughters more so, you know, they were so happy, you know, about being grandparents, which I get it, because now I'm a grandparent of 3. So, but once again, here comes that controlling, forceful energy of, you know, well, you've never had children before, you know, you don't know what you're doing. I remember this one thing. It was like I would let them go, because once again, the pressure's up. But those are your parents. That's your mother. That's your mother. You should let them go be with their grandparents. I struggle with that, you know, years, guys.
Because that makes you feel like you don't have the skills that they do, so you might as well just give up.
Not only that, for me, it would be like, I wouldn't trust. I don't know what you're going to do to my kids. You know, that may be bad to say, but...
You know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so even, once again, not trusting my own intuition, I allowed them to go stay with them for like the summer. And my daughter Trinity, she has like this really wavy curly hair, and she was like, no, my daughter called and was like, my grandmother put a relaxer in my hair.
Oh. Let me take a sip on that. This is cranberry juice, by the way.
On my chest. Okay, let me play with the top of me on my chest. Okay. She did what? Because she wanted my hair to be straighter. So she put a relaxer in her hair, and it pulled all of her hair out. And when I tell you it was on and popping.
Whoa!
It was on and popping. I'm telling you.
Does she still try to justify it?
There was no relationship. Like, there was, when I tell you none.
No, I'm saying before, you cut it and there was no relationship. Did she still attempt to justify what she did?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Well,
ma'am.
and in this other behavior too, you can see that it was just lip service because you would think, okay, I've learned from my daughter.
Right.
Let me ask her if I can do this to my grandchild.
Right.
And ultimately, yes, you're the grandparents. All I want you to do as a grandparent, I want you to love them.
Yeah.
I don't need you to try to re-raise them.
Right.
Or to re-raise them opposite of the way that I've raised them. Just love on them.
That's it. That's
and
all
if
you're
I
supposed
told
to do.
you the things that are acceptable and aren't, where my kids are concerned, and you do that, I don't care who you are.
So, Essence, have you always been someone who did you learn at some point that this whole idea of changing my kid's hair is a problem, or have you just always thought that that's unusual?
That was unusual. That was some craziness.
So it wasn't, because for me, it was like seeing other people, make their stands, and I thought, oh, okay.
Right.
It was like this new idea.
It was just unusual. And once again, even through that, you guys, I didn't talk to her for forever. And here she comes calling, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. But then something else came along. Like, it was, you guys, it was nonstop. So whenever she could be rebellious to what I tell her to do or not to do, I mean, she did it. So at some point, I didn't sever, it was several years back when I severed the relationship altogether. I was like, I am not doing this anymore.
So is it still severed?
Yes, ma'am. I don't have any relationship with my parents whatsoever. Best thing I could have ever done in life.
How long has that been? And how has your life changed? How has it been impacted
about
by that?
9 years now. Best thing I could have ever done. I promise you that. But the thing is, it impacted my children too because,
they had a relationship.
Yeah, a big relationship with them, and they felt entitled.
Oh.
They felt entitled. Because
so now your parents were kind of compensating with them.
They felt very entitled to,
access to that.
And everything. Like, they said they wanted, they got it. Period.
Oh boy.
So that created.
So there was no parenting there.
Yeah, it was a big monster.
So how does that work? Because you said parents plural. So that means with this close relationship that you had with your father, you basically had to give that up in order to have your peace.
Well, and the thing was, I had to, because he got to a point where, having someone like that in the household with that mouth and that chaotic energy, he succumbed to that too. It's like, so instead of him stepping up, knowing that she was wrong,
he just gave that.
Yeah, he backed her every step of the way. See,
my dad never did, and I think that's where a big part of the problem came up.
Yeah, my father backed her every step of the way.
Wow.
And so I had to sever that as well. And like I said, for me, don't you miss? No, I don't.
Because you couldn't have one without the other.
Right, exactly. You just can't. And so.
Well, you made the decision to choose you.
Yeah, and
your well-being and your health.
And I had to because it was mentally messing me up altogether with my decision making on everything. Everything. I mean, relationships, friendships, sisterhoods, just everything. It really affected me on that type of level because it was just nonstop. It was nonstop because I never caught a breather. I never did. Yeah.
So that must be your trigger then. The minute some female friend comes in and half a word comes out, I'm like,
I am that girl now. I am that.
You're out of there.
I completely. I'm telling you because I'm like, I will flip and I will come for their head. I will come for their head.
So then what is the dividing line? Because you know, in sisterhoods and friendships, relationships, period, you're gonna have moments that you're not gonna agree.
And that's okay. I can deal with that. Well,
so what is the difference? Like, what is the difference? Like, give me a tangible example.
I mean, we can not agree on something, but I mean, we all have our opinions. You know, we're supposed to have our opinions on things, and we can agree to disagree. However, what I won't do, the deal breaker for me is disloyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do disloyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do deceit.
No second chance.
Mm-mm.
And two, I think the energy of tone, if you have to, put yourself on top of it, the volume of your voice, then I know that's something I've observed with you that, I don't solve problems with you by you raising your voice at me.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Not at all. Not at all. It's
let's communicate.
Right.
Yeah, let's talk about it because if the tone is right, and this is something that my ex, actually a couple things my ex taught me. Your tone has got to be right, and your wording has got to be on point. Because if you come with that wording, because that's how, and we didn't argue a whole lot, but I would get so aggressive with her on my words. She's like, wait, hold on, mama. Like, I didn't come at you like that. I didn't say those things to you. And her tone is always very, monotone. Mm-hmm. But she taught me, like, I'm not trying to attack you. We're just not agreeing on the subject. And so when she would break it down like that,
so this isn't like fighting with my mom.
Right. Because I was always in warrior mode, like, because I have been attacked so much by her on my journey.
It almost becomes reflexive.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Something I always told my daughter, which is why our relationship is so open.
Yeah.
Like, we can talk about anything. You can tell me anything.
Yeah.
The most important thing to me is the tone.
Yeah.
And don't disrespect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can share anything. You can express your feelings, but your tone. Don't come at me like I'm one of your
friends.
Your guy friends.
Yeah.
Your dudes, your sister friends.
Yeah, because I see they like to use that term, bra. I heard that. I heard a child say that to their mother the other day, and it just triggered me. I was like, bruh. I said, is that your mother? And then the boy's like, yes, ma'am. I said, your mother don't call you.
How to come
Yeah. He was like, and she was like, he never says that to me. I said, because you don't command that. It's your job.
As a mother.
Yeah, that's your job. He's like, yeah.
So it almost sounds like some of those things, that whole demanding respect you still got from your mom.
Yeah.
But it's,
it's
the earning of it, not because you came out of me.
And you don't use it in a destructive way.
I don't.
I
don't.
You use it for positive reinforcement.
That's such a nice word.
Look, let me tell you something. You're not going to disrespect me.
That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen.
But I'm going to tell you.
Not on my watch. Not today.
Excuse me. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So, E Jae, how was your relationship, with your adult daughters?
God, they were growing up. Trinity, she was like before Lola came along. Oh man, just amazing. And when Lola came along, she was a different child. She was always aggressive. Trinity wasn't that way. She was always, hi, mommy. I love you, mommy. Did you have a great day, mommy? And Lola was like, you guys. And the thing is, and Lola, she has that. At some point, she reverted into, mommy, I love you, mommy, I want to be around you all the time.
Then she didn't start out for it.
No, even when I carried my youngest daughter, she was, and once again, I was going through so much stuff with those, between having my other kids and my parents and the chaos, the toxicity they were throwing at me. I think it did affect Lola while I was carrying her. And when she was born, she never gave that energy up, believe it or not.
Yeah. I really believe strongly that stays with you. Yeah. Yeah. I had an argument, a fight with my husband at the time, all the way to the hospital, and it's interesting because my son was born with liver issues, high bilirubin levels, and and in yoga philosophy, that liver is the seat of anger, So I'm sitting there the whole way. That was basically the pool he was sitting in, right? Wow. So I could totally see why she would be marinating in that too.
Yeah, she definitely was born. She kept that, a number of years, and then she switched for a few years. Then adolescence kicked in, and she's just trying. Adolescence, teenager years are like the worst years. They were the worst years of my life.
If you make it through that, you made it.
Right, that part.
Especially with mothers and their daughters, especially when they hit those tween years or teenage years, and they start smelling themselves and start.
It was tough. It was tough. It was very, very tough. So we went through a major strain for a number of years, because once again, they felt entitled because their grandparents was feeding their habits, and so every time something happened, grandparents would try to come to the rescue.
Yeah.
So
that actually affected your relationship with your daughters because they were interfering with even just their standard.
Absolutely, it was the worst years of my life. So I remember several years back when they were teenagers. They both got arrested, and at the same time.
So together.
Yeah, together. They were together, and they got arrested for stealing some stuff out of Walmart, you guys. And I didn't know. Believe it or not, I promise you, it was the weirdest thing ever. I'm like, and I
chose a better place.
Right, Walmart. But I remember them asking for my card to go to Walmart and get some stuff. I was like, okay. Then like an hour, 2 hours passed. Like, where are these kids? But I had to go off to work, and so I'm like, I couldn't work because here comes that intuition kicking in. Something's wrong.
Something was wrong.
Something was majorly wrong because those butterflies. My stomach was acting real weird, and so I kept seeing a number on my phone that I didn't recognize, and so the person called again and was like, may I speak to Mr. Robinson? I said, this is she, and he was like, just want to let you know we arrested your children for shoplifting or something out of Walmart.
Can you imagine?
So my response was, well, good, keep them. Hung up, went to bed, went home, took a shower, got in bed.
Right.
You can sleep.
Yes, ma'am.
I couldn't. You know what that
I guess they're safe.
You know what that made me think about? I got that call like that one time. Yeah, when she was 12.
Yeah.
But I felt something even before she left, because the last thing I told her, I said, don't get in trouble, Alexis.
Yeah.
I said, don't do anything to get in trouble. And then maybe she'd been gone maybe about an hour.
Sure.
And I just something's not right. I haven't heard.
Which is amazing because an hour really isn't that long.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just like, what is going on? So I tried to call her phone and I never got an answer. Kept going to voicemail. And then she called me back and she was like, Mom, I got arrested. I was shoplifting in, what was it, Sears? I was livid. But what made me so fun, when I went down there, she had begged the people. She was like, please take me to jail. Please take me to jail because my mom was going to kill me. She was like, really had them thinking like I was going to kill her. But I was so devastated because I'm like, but I felt it. I knew it.
Yeah.
If you're tapped in and you're tuned in, it doesn't matter who it is, your kids, your spouse, your friend, your friendship, whatever. You're going to know when something's not right.
You're automatically.
But when you said that just made me think about that.
Yeah, it was.
And so.
I went home, took a shower, and went to bed.
Oh my God.
I did.
You know what's so unique about you, and I think this is why I feel like I'm learning so much from you, is that you have this ability to be just like Trinity, to be so warm and inviting and approachable, compassionate, but you also allow that other side of you to coexist with it, where it's like, I'm gonna lay it down. I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to defend myself.
Absolutely.
And the people I love. And a lot of people think that they can't be together.
We all have that. I just believe that we have been trained that we can't act on that. And so we default to either one or the other. Yeah. We encourage one and we suppress the other. Yeah. And we just don't feel like we can be both.
Which means someone's getting away with something.
What?
Exactly.
When you do that.
Or someone's not getting away with anything.
Right. It's one or the other. Right.
There's no balance.
You guys, this lady called me. She's like, no. She's like, you have to come get them. I said, no, I don't. I do not. I said, you said they shoplifted, right? Okay, so you locked them up. Okay, so let them do their time, and you just holler at me when their time is up. And she's like, no, man, we can't do it like that. You have to come. We got in contact with you. I said, well, hell, had I known that, I wouldn't answer my phone.
How did they behave with you?
They were like, please keep us in here, because this woman is going to come. When I got you guys, first of all, I didn't know where this place was located. So a friend of mine who lived in the neighborhood, her son had gotten arrested for doing the same thing. I said, so is this a neighborhood thing? What is this? So she's like, I know where it is. I'll go with you. But I think she was going because she knew I was going to come for their head.
She was coming to kind of keep you calm.
Yeah, she really was. And I'm telling you,
she was trying to save
when we walked in there, you guys, they had about 10 officers standing there. I was like, well, what's the officers about? They was like, well, your children were like, our mom, we may not make it home. And they wanted to just stay in. They wanted to stay in, guys. They're like, our mom is crazy. So my mom's like, they told you that? Why would they tell you something like that? And I was like, where are they? So then I'm like, where are they? So now the tone gets deep. Like, where are they?
Right.
And it's like, ma'am, no, ma'am, you got to have a seat.
We need you to have a seat for a few
minutes
before we bring them out.
Right. So to make a long story short, I took them home, and I was like, because I was so livid, and I was like, what the hell did you guys steal? And why did you do that? And they, whatever it was, it came into like $37.12, you guys. You had my card.
Why didn't you pay for it?
Why didn't you just pay for it? And so I'm like, okay, clearly it's the culture of everything. Okay, cool. But so some food, and so I was like, so I made them cook every piece of food that was in my freezer. By the time they finished, it was time for them to go to school. They thought they were going to stay home. No, I made them shower, put their clothes on, and go to school. And then I took all the electronics from them. So Walmart contacted me, or their attorneys contacted me. It was like, okay, we want $250 for this and $250 for that.
Oh, wow.
Over $37.12. So here comes my parents calling. They want to know what happened. I took all the electronics. I pawned the electronics. And so I remember my mother's like, well, don't pawn their phones. Please don't pawn their phones.
What?
Yeah, I remember that. So but the phones were taken away from them. So I hid them somewhere. And I remember it was Easter. I would never forget this, guys. It was Easter weekend. And, I'm trying to think, was it? Anyways, it was Easter weekend, and a friend of mine knew I was so stressed, and she's like, I'm taking you down to Sawgrass. You're going to be in a hotel for the rest of this weekend. Okay. So, anywho, fast forward, there was something called Glide Show. I remember, I think the kids were out that Friday, and they were both upstairs. I'm like, if they're both together, they're up to no good.
Go check on them.
Okay. So I remember cooking, because it was just so much, it was so chaotic. You guys, I'll never forget that energy. It was so chaotic. And I remember my phone, because nobody calls me, no one texts me like that. So my phone was going off. So I look and it said something about Trinity has something, blah, 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 to Glide Show. So what it was, they found the phones, and they were upstairs using the phones. And so I ran upstairs, looked at Lola's room. She wasn't in there, so I knew she was in Trinity's room. I kicked the door.
That sounds like something Mom would do.
I kicked the door in,
Kids
and I was like, "Where's the headphones?"
Kids take you there.
I have story after story. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And
they'll take you there sometimes.
And mine did. And I would have never expected this behavior, especially not out of Trinity. Lola maybe. But you know what the thing was? Trinity was the one that actually started acting like she was grown and stuff. She was, but Lola was like, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes ma'am. And Trinity was like, well, technically I'm grown because, girl, she was, I think, 17.
You know what, Maya tried that once with me.
She's like 17 years old.
I'm an adult.
Well, if you're grown like that, then you go get your own apartment. You get it.
Where am I renting?
Let me tell you, it's one woman per household, baby.
There you go.
One woman. You guys got that? One woman per household. And I'm the woman up in mine. Okay. You guys, I went downstairs and my partner at the time, she was cooking, and I got the hammer. Told the girls to follow me downstairs. I was like, you want to see how grown you are? I grabbed their phones and I hammered them. I started a fire in my home.
Oh my
Didn't care anything about the fire. Didn't care nothing about the home burning down. I was proving a point.
Do they laugh about this when you tell the story?
They do not. But at one time, they were like, oh, God, Mom, please don't remind me that.
Story again.
Again, yeah. It's like, yeah.
So if you had to share with our listening audience, if there's a takeaway, if there's a mom out there, a woman out there that's having some challenges with her daughters, and she's triggered by, maybe the relationship or lack thereof of her own mother, what piece of advice would you give her?
I would say shift your focus. I would say start there. Shift your focus from holding on to all the toxicity that your mother has shown in a different direction, and just channel it differently, and learn to trust your woman's intuition. You have that for a reason. And that's not going to come overnight, but just give yourself bit by bit to learn to trust it, and all things will work out. But you also have to understand that you have got to protect yourself. You got to protect your energy in the process of going through this element of motherhood, and dealing with your children or dealing with your daughters. That's the most important thing across the board, because society is going to make you feel bad because you didn't do things their way, or your children's going to make you feel bad because you didn't do things their way, or your parents or your mother, things that your mother did, that's going to be in the back of your head. You got to release the resistance of that. And
I think that's the beauty of your motherhood is that you didn't let this experience with your parents guilt trip you to where you gave your kids less in terms of boundaries, Just in my professional work with children, the ones that are the most challenging are the ones whose parents did not outline boundaries and did not keep them very well, how would you say, enforced.
Well, kids want, they want structure, and sometimes they will act out just to see if you're going to provide them with that. They need it, they desire it, they just don't know how to express it at a certain age. Right. I'm sure they can.
And then they're uncontrollable, and then, all they got is law enforcement now to help them out,
And by that time, it's normally too late.
So what's the call to action?
I think I summed it up basically. Learn to trust your gut.
That's a takeaway, but what is something that you can charge a woman to do beginning today?
Homework. What's everybody's homework?
Meditation. Meditation. Because which helps you to get out in front of the challenges.
Okay.
I would say meditate, because it gives you clarity. And it calms the spirit, it calms the mind, and when that is calm and that is balanced, you see clearly. So I would say that would be it.
You guys know songs just drop into my heart every time you guys
There she goes.
I can see clearly.
Yeah, the rain is gone. Everybody join in.
Yeah, I really enjoyed hearing you share your journey. You know, it gave me even more insight into who you are, not just as an individual and as a woman, but as a mother, you know, and how we show up and how even though the most significant relationships that we have that, you know, we're not very healthy, that we still have the choice and the option of how we show up and how we navigate our way through this thing called life and how we show up and interact with other women. So I'm grateful that we're able to have this dialogue so that we can help women that are maybe stuck on the path to kind of embracing who they really are and not staying stuck on, you know, well, this is what happened to me and this is why I don't trust women. You know, we have to be the agents of change that we want to see. So I hope that you guys have been encouraged by what you heard with us today. And we will look forward to seeing you guys next time.